1. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Bodacity's Ask the Experts. I'm happy to have with me today Lorraine Clifford. My name's Jannette Anderson, and part of Bodacity's mission is to support women in finding the courage to step up and be even better leaders. And part of this month's features is claiming your body, so wellness from the inside out. The whole year is a series of topics about claiming your business, claiming your sales, claiming your wealth, and how to practically do that. So we've got some great members of the Bodacity's Action Hero community that have wonderful in-depth expertise, including my guest, Lorraine Clifford. So Lorraine happens to be from Calgary, where I am, but we have experts from all around the world. So let me tell you a little bit about Lorraine, and welcome, Lorraine. I'm so happy you're here. I'll tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll jump right in. So Lorraine is a mom of 4 and a grandmother of 13. Yeah, you heard it. She's got busy kids. She has had a career working in the dental field as an assistant for an orthodontist for 35 years. That's a long time to be in any field. It also explains why you have such a lovely smile, though. She was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 36 when health or regaining her health got pushed to the forefront of her life. During her 14 years of gracing the doors of the Tom Baker Cancer Center in Calgary, she started taking courses on alternative health and eventually dove in with both feet, went back to school full-time at the age of 51 to get the designation of CHN, Certified Holistic Nutrition Consultant, and continued her learning with German New Medicine, Reiki Master, extended nutritional courses, metabolic balance, and most recently, a deep dive into Buteyko, you'll correct my pronunciation, breathing education. She's passionate about helping others understand how they can change their lives, become healthier, and have a better quality of life. So that's all the interesting pieces of all of the amazing things that you've been learning. I can't wait to talk to you about the combination and how they come together. But before we do that, I generally ask people to tell us something that we wouldn't guess by just by your bio or looking at you or whatever. So, the deep, juicy, dark secrets. So tell us something about you that we wouldn't guess.
I also have an Indian motorcycle that I ride. Yeah.
You have an Indian motorcycle?
Yes. Yeah. When I was 50, my husband came home. He was visiting his nephew, who happens to be the same age as him. And he said, Dale has a Harley. I want to get a Harley. And I just told him, I said, well, if you get one, then I get one too, because there's no damn way I'm riding behind you. And I kind of left that, figuring he's not going to do it. But he did. He bought himself a motorcycle, an Indian motorcycle, and then 6 months later, he bought me one. And then I had to man up and take the course and learn to ride this thing.
That's right.
Because it wasn't a puppy; it was a big one. Yeah. But
yeah, cool. So you had
total blast. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you guys do like road tours on your motorcycles?
Mostly just weekend things. I mean, we have taken longer tours, yeah, but mostly in the summer, just weekends. Yeah.
Cool. That's so cool. I love it. And yes, I wouldn't have guessed that you were a motorcycle mama, although I probably should have, because you're kind of a badass. All right. So let's talk about all of these various healing modalities and your journey. So we talked a little bit before about your cancer journey. That's a long time to be going to the TBCC. I actually worked there for a little while, a long time ago. Was that because your cancer kept coming back, or why were you there for 14 years? 14, I think.
Most of the time was just follow-up. The type of cancer I had was aggressive. And back then they didn't tell you whether it was, phase 1, what phase it was. There was either an urgency or there wasn't. And with me, there was an urgency. So I got in, started doing the treatment, and a year later the cancer was back. And I think that's when they decided that they better hang on to me for a little bit longer. But I made some huge changes.
Yeah. So tell me about your own personal kind of healing journey and what took you into all of those other modalities and so forth. How did you end up going up that path?
Well, I started looking into, first of all, how did this happen? Because I honestly thought I was healthy until they told me I wasn't. My mom had breast cancer and it metastasized to bone cancer, and she passed away within 4 years. She was 57 when she passed away. I was 30 when she was 57.
Oh, so quite young.
Yeah, she was quite young. Yeah. And it was 6 years later that I got diagnosed with cancer, a different type of cancer. It was a soft tissue sarcoma. Now, they gave me the big, long name, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But I do remember going into the library at the Tom Baker Clinic and researching it, because I'm a need to know kind of person.
Yeah.
The more I know, the more I understand. And what I found out was that 75% of the people with that type of cancer didn't survive 5 years. And my mom passed away within 4 years. So for a very short time, I had this thought that I didn't have a whole lot of time.
Right.
But I had 4 kids at home. And I couldn't see my husband being able to manage all that. Yeah. And then my thought was, but there was 25%. How did they do it? And that's when I started reading books. Love, Medicine, and Miracles was given to me. It was somebody had given it to my mom, and one of my sisters sent it to me. And it was a beautiful book, probably one of the best ones that I read, even to date. It's just something that I recommend for pretty much anybody who's going through that. For me, the biggest thing was learning to really love myself and accept who I was. And I did a lot of personal development, and I dove deep into the alternative, because I believe that I still had work to do here. I still had a purpose. And part of my purpose now is helping other people. I believe our bodies are miraculous.
So tell me a little bit more about that purpose. How did that feel, or did you have a sense of what that meant, what that would look like, what you were meant to do?
I just had a knowing that, if I didn't know, like, honestly, I didn't really understand that when I went to the grocery store, everything wasn't safe. Everything, like, somebody hadn't looked deep into it and said, yep, it's okay for everybody to eat this. There's no problems. And when I started looking at things, I found there was a lot of things that I was buying that were toxic. Like, I looked at everything that I brought into the house. So from my shampoo to what I was putting on my face, to my laundry detergent, to what I ate, to what I drank, the water, where it was coming from, what was the best water, how much do we need, all those things. And then started supplementing, because I thought I did a pretty good job with eating. I ate a lot of greens compared to the average bear. So definitely I want to be able to share that. And that's one, and I've got a thirst for understanding it.
Clearly, because you do all that in-depth research on everything, where it came from, what's in it. So obviously a very kind of scientific, really want to know mind. Is that what led you to do all those various methodologies or modalities that you learned? So how did you pick which one? thousands of different, healing modalities. How did you end up picking the ones that you went into in depth?
Well, German New Medicine, when I was, well, first of all, I had done so many little courses on nutrition that I decided I needed to get that designation. And that was my first step. Go back to school for full time at 51 to get that designation. And then, just going there and meeting people who were taking the same course, there was a young man who suggested that I might be interested in this German New Medicine. And I looked at it, and sure enough, yeah, I was extremely interested in it, because it's all about what we think designate the diseases that we manifest. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. And so getting that behind me was a step. And then I took go ahead.
Go ahead. Carry on.
Then I took Reiki also, because I totally believe that everything is energy. And when we can supply the body with the energy it needs through food, through touch, through sound, through light, all those things count.
It makes sense. And your latest kind of passion and where you're really focused now is the breathing. So tell us a little bit about that. And I think for a lot of people, they think breathing, I do it all day long. How hard can it be? Why do I need to learn how to breathe? So why do we need to learn how to breathe?
Well, because most of us are over breathing. So we're upper chest breathing and we're mouth breathing. So what we need to do is to be able to slow that breathing down. Nose breathe only. See if you can engage the diaphragm. Most of us aren't, especially us women. We hold the belly so tight. There's no way that diaphragm's moving. When you are mouth breathing or upper chest breathing, you're connecting to your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. It's low grade, but it's constant. And the end result is that you're off-gassing too much CO2. And everybody thinks that CO2 is a waste gas, but we need a little bit of it in the bloodstream. There is a thing called the Bohr effect, which was discovered in 1904, and it says that oxygen transport only happens in the presence of CO2. And if there's not enough CO2 in the bloodstream, then the oxygen bonds too tightly to the red blood cell and it doesn't offload properly. So now we're talking systemic. It's the whole body. Dr. Buteyko linked the disease of deep breathing to over 200 different degenerative diseases as one of the root causes.
Really? So you're saying that because we're breathing from the chest up and we tend to be mouth breathers, which I know I tend to default to, that we're not getting the right kind of an amount of oxygen in our system, and we're off-gassing too much, which creates some of that fight or flight stress on an ongoing basis. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, the fight or flight stress is upper chest breathing, mouth breathing. Like if I came up behind you and I startled you, what are you going to do? You're going to take that deep breath in. Yeah. The eyes are going to go wide. You are in your sympathetic nervous system, and we're supposed to be running in the parasympathetic nervous system. When you're in the sympathetic nervous system, you don't digest properly. You don't eliminate properly.
Okay.
The smooth muscle, which is wrapped around which is all of your inner organs and your veins and arteries, that tightens up. So if you think of something like high blood pressure, you're probably operating more in your sympathetic nervous system than you are in the parasympathetic nervous system. So that
Interesting.
CO2 puts us into the parasympathetic nervous system. It relaxes the smooth muscle. Our thinking is better. We're able to deal with things better.
Huh. So is it simply a matter of breathing through your nose and making sure your belly goes in and out to make sure your diaphragm breathing, or is there more to it in terms of how we think about breathing and what we need to be focused on?
When I'm teaching, I teach you what to look for so that you know when you're in your parasympathetic nervous system, you're calm, or you're in your sympathetic nervous system. If you're in your sympathetic nervous system, your mouth tends to go dry. Your hands and feet will be cold because when we're running and fighting, we're not digesting, right? The blood is being shunted to the big muscles so you can run or fight.
So what are some of the benefits of learning how to breathe properly? How does it really help us?
A big one is asthma and allergies, anxiety. These things go away quite quickly because when you're in your parasympathetic nervous system, you're supplying the oxygen. That's the biggest problem, is that when you change from being a mouth breather to a nose breather, you actually get about 20 to 30% more oxygen to the brain and all of the cells.
Okay. That's a lot more. That makes a big difference. So you mentioned we were talking at, sorry, go ahead. We have a little bit of a lag, everybody, that
yeah.
Okay. So when we were talking at one point, I said something about getting a sleep apnea machine. It was the name just escaped me, and you kind of shook your head and said, "No, don't do that." Why not? Because I know there's lots of people on here who either have them or want to get or need to get them or may need in the future. So why not?
Okay, so the sleep apnea machine, it is a constant flow of air. So you're already over breathing, and now you're putting this thing on which has a constant flow of air. It's making you over breathe even more. Yes, it's keeping the airway open, but that's the only thing it's doing. And if you learn to breathe properly, you won't snore, and you shouldn't have the apnea. Snoring leads to apnea every time if it's not rectified.
But how can you not snore if you're sleeping? Like, I mean, how can you control your breathing if you're sleeping? Is it that you develop the habit when you're not sleeping?
You have to develop the habit. You have control over your breathing during the day. So that's what we need to work on. So that when you're sleeping and you're on autopilot, you're now doing that daytime breathing. So is it quick? Most people will notice that they're sleeping better within 2 weeks. But the change from being upper chest breather or a mouth breather, it's normally a good 6 months, maybe longer. If you've had asthma since you were 2, I'm going to say it's going to be longer. Is it doable? You bet it is. Most of the people who teach Buteyko are ex-asthmatics. It's not that they're able to manage their asthma with their breathing. so they don't need medication. Would I ever tell an asthmatic not to have their medication? No, because you never know.
Right.
But if you can manage it with your breathing, why wouldn't you?
Makes sense. All right. So we've only got a little bit of time left. For all of these women who are often working way too hard, kind of stressed out, from all of your wealth of alternative or complementary trainings that you've taken, nutrition, breathing, Reiki, and a bunch of others, what's 3 tips that you can leave them with ways to immediately feel better, have better brain function, better energy, better sleep? What are 3 things that people can do right away that you would really advocate for stressed out, overworked women, who are most of the people watching this?
You know, I would start looking at the toxins that you're bringing into your life, and that can be emotional, and it could be like the actual toxins you're bringing into your life. There's certain things we have control over, and there's a lot that we have no control over. So the things you have control over, check into it and see if you can diminish or manage those toxins. So that would be the first thing. A lot of us, you know, get aches and pains and whatnot, and it's more the toxin in our body, the way our body is able to handle them, that's causing most of that. And breathing is, if you're breathing properly, your lungs are actually responsible for 70% of your detoxification process. So manage your breathing. Slow it down. Nose breathe. Belly breathe. And then, you know, have a good mindset. Have a good mindset, because what you think trumps everything else. And I can attest for that.
And so, like, what would you say is one of the keys to having a good mindset?
You know, understand that you are worth it. You are worthy, and you count. And there's, you know, if you don't take care of yourself, who else will? So self-care is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the key messages here is we need to step up and take care of our health, which is part of why we've done this, you know, month of broadcast on health. Because often women tend to put themselves on the bottom of the list and get to themselves when everybody else is taken care of. So those sound like some real conscious things that we can address right away. One is really looking at the toxins we bring into our life, emotional, mental, physical, and physiological, because there's lots of things that, like you said, in products that we may not be aware of. 2, practice nose and belly breathing. Start there, although I know there's quite a bit of stuff that you cover in your courses that's a bit more than just breathe through your nose and your belly. And 3, focus on really claiming, owning, and practicing what I'm going to call mental health in terms of mindset, and that's really knowing and getting that you count, and if you don't take care of yourself, who will? So, and I would also say get some support with all of this, because most of us pretty much suck when we have to do it by ourselves. We don't do it. We're not very accountable to ourselves for doing that, whereas we'll be accountable to someone else. So it can really help to get a coach, a health coach, a nutritionist, someone who can really support you with your well-being. So on that note, Lorraine, where can people find you, and how can they access information about the breathing and your other offerings?
So the breathing, I have a website, breathway.com. So it's BREATHWAY.com. And
Okay.
for the rest, it's pretty much contact me. So Lorraine Y. Clifford at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just putting down the comments. Her at Lorraine Y. Clifford at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you practice with clients outside of Calgary, or is it all live and in person?
No, I actually do a fair amount through Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. So people don't have to live here to be able to access your wisdom and your brilliance and find out more. I know a number of people who have taken your breathing course and swear by it and say that it's really helped them a lot with their own sense of well-being. My best friend Mary, for example, is one of your biggest fans. So it's interesting how many people I keep popping up and your name pops up and people say, oh yeah, it's wonderful. You should really do it. So thank you for being here and sharing a few ideas to get people going. I appreciate your time. And thanks for sharing your journey too, because there's a lot of people who've gone through healing crises and or healing opportunities, whichever you want to frame it as. And how you think about that and how you approach that can make all the difference to the success in terms of healing. So I love I'm curious and I want to find solutions approach. I think most of the people I know who've reclaimed health after cancer or other diseases, that's a lot of what they do is get proactive about their own healing and their own well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Sounds like that's what you did in space. Thank you. And I know we've gone a little bit over, but I do want to ask you one last question. So, because I know this is a slightly different topic, but one of the things that you mentioned and that I think is admirable is you went back to school full time at 51. You've been studying since then. There's lots of people in this community and lots of women in general who are reinventing themselves at 50, 55, 60, 65. What would be one thing that you could say or a tip when it comes to the courage to be willing to do that? How did you make that leap to go back to school full time?
It was just so important to me. I wanted the information for myself, but I wanted to be able to share it because I knew the struggles that I went through. And if I can make somebody else's life a little bit easier, that's what I want to do.
Cool. So it sounds like you made the leap and did something that took courage by tying it into your purpose, tying it into being able to serve and support others as well as yourself. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for being here, my friend. Great to see you again. And again, if you guys want to learn how to breathe properly and how to increase your disease resilience and mental acuity and all sorts of other benefits right away, contact Lorraine about Buteyko. Did I say it right finally or not? Breathing.
You got it.
And all of your offerings. Awesome. Thanks, Lorraine.
Thank you.